We had talked about transposing the story into and using a different kind of backdrop to explore the same themes, and we toyed with the idea of some mining versus salmon issue that John had heard about in Alaska, and we did some research on that and talked about setting the whole thing there, and then John researched and came upon natural gas as a great way to kind of explore American identity because the stakes are so unbelievably huge. I just emailed Gus Van Sant and I told him, you know, that I'd co-written something and that I thought it was really great and that I was going to direct it, but I couldn't for logistical reasons. And he emailed me back like about a minute later, and before they told us to turn off our phones, and he said, "Oh, I'd love to read what you're writing." And so I sent him the whole document just right there on the runway, and we flew down to Florida and landed 2 hours later, 2.5 hours later maybe, and when I turned my phone back on, there was a message from Gus saying he wanted to direct the movie. The story is about a pair of salesmen who go into a town and how they're changed by the town and how the town is changed by them. And basically, in a nutshell, that's kind of what it is. It's a pretty simple story. But hopefully with characters that we all can recognize as people we know. I hope people who go see Promised Land, you know, are moved by it and recognize the people and you know, come out thinking about it's not meant to give you any answers. It's actually just meant to catalyze some conversation and reflection, because it really asks more questions than it answers. But they're important questions, I think, that we all need to be asking right now. And so, but I hope it's entertaining. I hope people laugh. I hope people get choked up. I hope people love these characters as much as we do.
I wanted to write a movie about American identity, and there's just a version of the country I feel like that, when I hear the stories from my dad and my mom about how the country used to be, that seemed a little less complicated and a little less conflicted about battling each other on every single level, whether it's politically or financially, or it's a little less complicated. So I just wanted to write a story about that ideal of America that I think is totally attainable and still is here in the country now. He was just saying, I really want to take a chance and call Gus and see if he'd do it. And he sent the script to Gus. I remember vividly, it was 8:30 in the morning LA time, and he was getting on a plane. He's like, I just sent it to Gus. Hopefully, he likes it, and if he doesn't want to do it, we'll figure something out. And at 11:30 a.m., I was talking to a friend, and I got an email that said, so our movie's a Gus Van Sant movie now? And I think I threw up and then passed out, and then woke up 2 days later to the reality of what was setting in. And I mean, it has literally been a dream sequence ever since. I play Dustin Noble, who is an environmentalist. He's works for a small environmental group called Athena, and once he hears that the town's taking a vote, he dives right in and wants to support these people and try to convince them that what they're doing is very important and they have an opportunity to set a precedent politically for all the surrounding towns. And so he's very excited because the town hasn't been able to vote before that he's dealt with. So he dives in and tries to convince these people to vote against Steve and his company. Gus is talented beyond belief. Like I said, he was without a doubt my favorite director to watch, and every movie he's done I think is perfect and a piece of art. So you get to see why those movies are so good when you're with him. He's incredibly confident. He's soft-spoken and quiet because the process is happening in his head, and there's really no need to freak out or give a ton of notes, and he just expects that the people who are doing their jobs will do their jobs, and hopefully he does his, and he certainly does his.
I've been really fortunate. The directors that I've worked with, and Gus is just one more of many that don't open their mouth until they have something to say. And when they do, people listen. I'm really impressed by their intelligence and their craftsmanship. Everybody thinks they can write a movie. Your dentist thinks he can write a movie, and in fact, it's not that easy. There's a form to it, just like writing a novel, just writing a short story, writing a poem, writing a screenplay is a craft. And John and Matt know the craft of screenwriting. They've studied it, and they wouldn't attempt it without knowing that craft.
I read the script, and that was a big plus. Working with Gus Van Sant and the other actors, you know, when I found Francis was in it and John. But basically, you do a job because of the material, the script. There are very few exceptions to that, as long as you can make a living. And this is a movie that has some meaning to it, beyond just pure entertainment. And so it was a very attractive project. He's such an easy person to be with and around, you know. Seems to be very thoughtful. He doesn't seem to have his mind all made up in advance about how it should be. He seems to be very well, in the best sense of the word, improvisational, not like catching flies, but I mean, you know, he seems to be ready and open. I hope they come out of the movie with a sense of pride in themselves and in who they are, and the kind of pride that makes somebody want to do something about it.
Watching the two of them work together has been pretty amazing, because at points it really looks like they're occupying the same brain. You know, there'll be some, from my experience in rehearsals till now, they did a great job with the script, and then the script continued to evolve, and to see them sort of go back and forth on an idea where maybe they didn't have the same viewpoint at first, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, they're both saying the same thing, and then like this singular idea emerges out of them. And they've, yeah, it's interesting because on the days that John's not working as an actor, you see him over there with Gus sort of rewriting things or figuring out how they can cut things that, you know, were kind of bugging him. Or it's been exciting to watch them both inhabit all those roles, the writer role and the actor role. She's amazing. You know, it's like a master class in acting. I could watch her all day long. She's sort of, when she rehearses, she's so loose, and she finds these big moments, and she's kind of like really unrestrained, and then the camera rolls, and sometimes Sue is more maybe shy than Fran, and it all gets reined in, and it's amazing to witness. I think when you know these particular actors are going to be in a movie, you expect to see some good acting, and I think you won't be disappointed, and some really expert storytelling, especially when Gus Van Sant is on board. It's also really funny, I think, with the John Krasinski element. You know, it's a really funny script, and it's a really wholehearted script, so I hope that the audience has a wholehearted experience.
It was very funny, it was entertaining, it was informative, it was, I mean, not wanting to say too heavily it was like Good Will Hunting in that sense, that it was about serious things, but also it was very entertaining. He's also was really interested in making something that I think was carrying on from Good Will Hunting. You know, I think I think I heard him say that. He's from Boston. It was an important movie for him, and Matt was going to be in it. And so there was something about the construction of the story that I think he had that in mind, which I think I saw when I read it as well. And I assumed it would be something like that when Matt told me about it. Working together, I think, is pretty much just shorthand. He's able to understand what I mean without me saying too much. And which happened when I first met him. He was able to sort of interpret what I was saying. I'm not sure. He's probably been around a lot of people like me that are not very articulate, and he knows how to just like, okay, I know what they mean. Read your mind. And so without a lot of trouble, he understands what I mean.
You should expect a very good movie, a beautiful movie, incredibly well acted and well written movie, and I think that you'll have some goosebumps and you'll have some laughs. I think you'll see some real people that you probably know somewhere in the movie, and I think it's a real-life all-American story that is going to be very rewarding when you go see it.